Welcome to another Adventist Agricultural Association YouTube highlight. Today we are going to be talking with Angela, with Melissa, and with Anna, which are all involved with the Adventist agricultural curriculum. They're the brains behind it. And so it's great to have them on today. We're going to be giving a little bit of update from the conference as far as how the fundraising has gone for the curriculum. But we also, for those of you that don't know, want to let you know a little bit about what is the Adventist agriculture curriculum. It's actually called the Acquainting Agriculture, right, Anna? Acquainting Agriculture Curriculum. Is that official? That's the
Yes.
official title, right? Okay. And talk a little bit about why we feel like it's important, but we want to start a little bit with talking about the history and why it got started and where it got started. And Angela was here, and were you at the conference, kind of where that whole discussion started, Anna, as well? Were you in Portland?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I was in Portland at my first conference.
okay. So Angela is going to kick us off and tell us a little bit about how that meeting went. And I think she stuck up her hand and said, "Hey guys, we need to actually have some practical solutions to some problems that we're facing." I believe it was an educators breakout at the event, and everyone was talking about their woes or something along those lines. And anyways, why don't you tell us a little bit about what happened there, Angela, and kind of what happened afterwards?
Yeah, so hi everybody, I'm Angela Boothby and I have been teaching for 8 years. I started out in the elementary sector and I got my master's in outdoor education in the summers after I started teaching. So I was teaching kindergarten, first and second, and 3 summers later I got my master's in outdoor education at Southern. It really gave me a paradigm shift of how I wanted to be a teacher and even how I wanted to live my faith as an Adventist. And I just started to see the way Jesus taught was always using the outdoors, and he was always using things that people saw on a daily basis. So that's where it began for me. And then from there, I was offered a position at a camp to run an outdoor education program all year long for school kids. And I realized that it was powerful to get kids outside. And then I was offered a job at Heritage Academy, where I taught for 3 years, and they had three beautiful greenhouses, but all the students were in them. And that's when I first went to my first ADAGRA down in Florida with 2 other staff from Heritage. And we felt the Lord calling, like, we need to change the way we're doing education at Heritage. We need to get our kids and all of them in the greenhouses. But where do we start? How do we start? What does that even look like? How do you practically get the kids in there? What should they be accomplishing? Do they just become, for lack of better words, robots doing their part on the assembly line? And just trying to figure that out and figure out scheduling and all those kind of things. And then the next year I was invited, because of my master's background, to do a breakout sessions about how to teach using the outdoors, and to add a garden component, which I had not quite completely explored myself. But I did a lot of research, and God blessed, and I had some cool ideas because there's a lot of ideas out there. I think that's when I first realized that there was a massive amount of ideas of how to teach gardening in schools and all the ways you could garden, from aquaponics to hydroponics to you name it. And it was very overwhelming, to be honest. And then I went to the Birds of a Feather, and they were all talking. Sometimes I think we are prone to point out what's wrong, which we need to be. We need to be looking at things objectively and saying, what can we do better? So I appreciate that. But I just felt more and more frustration in my heart as I sat there, because there was, I don't know, 50 of us in this room, or 40. I'm not really sure, 40 to 50 of us. And I just kept feeling like, I know that there's a desire out there. There are conference schools, there are self-supporting schools, there are homeschoolers that want to do gardening, but there's a plethora of things out there. Where do they begin? And so it was nearing the end of the session, and it was about ready to close. I think we were 10 minutes away from closing. And finally, I got the courage to speak up. And I said, I said, wait, please forgive me, but before we slam our schools, do we realize that in no other area, in any other subject area, whether it's math or science or social studies or history or Bible, does a teacher have to come up with their own curriculum? Now you're going to find, ask any Adventist educator, every educator builds on a curriculum, and every school you're going to go to, they look slightly different. But no teacher has to completely start from scratch. And so before we just say our schools are, you name it, all the things that we can find fault in our schools, why don't we empower them? And then at least we could say they had tools, but they chose not to use them. At this point, you're just telling them, by the way, an overworked teacher, when I taught kindergarten through second, that means I'm teaching at least 36 subjects a day, because you teach multi-grades, every subject, 3 different grades. So you want these beautiful Adventist educators who are pouring their heart and soul and their lives into education, into these kids' hearts, to then to decide how to garden by themselves instead of all the gardening, and figure out how to meet all the standards in their curriculum. Like, that's just an insurmountable task.
Yeah.
And I said, right here, this is the brilliance right here, sitting in this room and at this conference, are all the people who have done it right for years. And if they could just get together and give me the tools, I'll figure out how to do it, but give me something, because there's just too much out there. And I need something super concrete, like all my other curriculum guides. They tell me what to do. They tell me how to start. They tell me what to go through and all the supplies I need. I mean, it is spelled out, So for lack of better terms, I basically asked them, give me a curriculum guide, gardening for dummies. Like, start me from the scratch and I will take it. Every teacher will take it and grow it, but you have to give them something. And they talked about it for a little bit. And then at the end of it, we were closing out the conference, and they were like, it sounds like, we need to meet again. And I felt like we hadn't gone anywhere after I spoke. I said, it just seems I need concrete, And this older gentleman spoke up when they said, yeah, we need to have another meeting. And he's like, I put her in charge of it. And I round, must be somebody else. Like, not me. I know nothing. I like, how do I start this thing? Yes, I grew up on a farm. Yes, I love the outdoors. But when you guys start talking drip lines and road coverage, and Anna, give me some more lingo that I look cool.
Yeah, we'll get into more of that lingo.
Yeah. So, and then all of a sudden I'm just drowning, and but God is good. And Anna, you were at that session. I think that was when there was a smaller group of us, about 8 of us.
Yeah, they're like, hey, Anna, I know that you're a teacher, at Campion Academy, just starting out a gardening program. Like, come, there's a teacher gathering getting together. You got to hear this. I think it was your mom, actually, and Alan that pulled me in. I think it was Vivian, because she was kind of helping to host it too, wasn't she?
The first meeting, yes. The second meeting, it was just us at that point.
It was just us. Okay. Yeah.
And
she was the one that invited me.
Awesome. Yeah. So then John Dysinger came over to me and he said, hey, I've talked to ADAGRA, the board, and they really want to support this thing. It's been a dream on many of our hearts for a while, but maybe not verbalized or figured out how to verbalize. But ADAGRA definitely sees the vision, and definitely has the vision in their own hearts to understand that it's about, ADAGRA is about families. It's about souls, and it's about growing for the kingdom, which, we know starts with our children, and so yeah, he came over to me, and that's when he said that ADAGRA would put aside $5,000 to cover travel expenses. And a team of us met that next summer in June. That would be, Anna, a year ago, June. This June coming would be 2 years ago that we met in Tennessee at the Dysinger's Farm. Yes. Bountiful Blessings. And I think there was 11 of us, a variety of people. And I prayed that whole plane ride. I said, Lord, what do you want me to do? What does this look like? How do I begin this mammoth of a project? And I just prayed, and the Lord honestly gave me 8 ideas of a layout structure. And the Lord blessed our time there. We did a lot of discussions, a lot of hashing out, figuring out an audience, a lot of background stuff that really definitely launched us into where we are now. Though it might look very different than when we started back then in June. And that's when we broke into groups and everybody was supposed to do writing assignments. We had decided our chapter titles. I guess we did a lot of the unit then, right, Anna, deciding what the textbook, the content was going to be.
Yeah, that same plane ride, I was super prayerful, and I had a layover, and I was just like, okay, Lord, I don't want to waste this time. Let's figure out what this, curriculum could look like. And so yeah, we had some lesson titles set up already.
Yeah, and so at the Dysingers Farm, we came up with the table of contents. And from there was supposed to be, I don't remember exactly, 5 or 6 writers that we broke the chapters into, and they were supposed to report back to me. And then we had a lady who was going to be the editor. And a lot of our people came from self-supporting schools or schools. And so when they got back, it was very difficult for them to continue writing. And I would say it was a very valiant effort, and I praise God for the work that began there, but it kind of petered off. And I didn't know what to do anymore. And I was actually I moved to Switzerland that August because I was asked to start a school based on outdoors out there. And I wasn't able to stay because they weren't able to give me a work permit, which put me back in America, which you're going to see how awesome God is, because John Dysinger called me, I don't know, 2 weeks time before the ADAGRA met in Florida. And he was like, I want you to come and present the curriculum. And I was like, but I can't, we kind of, but we don't really know, and we don't have writers, and it's kind of falling apart, but at the same time, it's not. That, I mean, the team was still trying. They were very much their heart and soul, but I didn't know what else to contribute. And finally, he convinced me, and I said, oh, Lord, please, call somebody else. And I go down to Florida. We end up presenting what we have, and there's an incredible positive response in Florida at ADAGRA, and you could see there was a desperate need and a desire and a niche. I was like, Lord, this is clearly your curriculum. And ADAGRA agreed to hire somebody full-time, not full-time, part-time to write the curriculum at a very a minimum wage, but what ADAGRA could offer. Yeah. And the person that I said should do it, because I ended up staying a day after ADAGRA got out and presenting everything that we had worked on so far with the units and everything that we had come up with. And ADAGRA board was very impressed. And but we just didn't have someone to make it come to be. And after I presented, Anna, you felt the call of the Holy Spirit.
I definitely did. Yeah. So I think that, one thing that we need to mention is during that initial teacher gathering at the Dysingers Farm, we started off every morning with an hour's worth of prayer. And so we dedicated every effort to be under God's timing, his control. And it was such a beautiful time of initiating this movement, that we're working on this curriculum. And so I do believe that God was leading in miraculous ways because we gave him permission. And so at that moment, fast forwarding to where you're referring to, at the conference, I was a teacher at Campion Academy for agriculture, and I was part of that, that session at the Dysingers Farm, and they had invited me at that conference in Florida to present what Campion was doing, and just to show, that schools could have a successful gardening program even within a year if following, specific methods. And so I shared all the blessings God had performed, for our school, and trying to encourage other teachers. And then when I was done presenting and I was driving home, I was like, dear Lord, I was like, there's something more that I want to give. I don't want it just to be over. I know I'm going to be writing my few chapters to contribute to this whole, big teacher contribution. But I was like, I want something more, Lord. I know you have something more for me. And so actually that whole trip home, I'm like, this is the one thing I'm fasting for, Lord. What is your will? How do you see me involved in this curriculum? I want to do your will, your plan. And so I was like, you know what? I feel I've got the vision, I've got the time actually. And And so I called Angela up, or texted you actually, and I was just like, hey, if you need somebody to just kind of finish this work here, I'm your girl. I'll do it, because I feel God leading me there. So that's how.
And it's just, God is incredible, because the board was asking me to take over the program, and though I have ideas, I could not come up with what they needed. And I was feeling very physically sick, because I said, Lord, I know you've called me to be a part of this, but I don't know at this point what that looks like. And then Anna texted, and she's like, I feel called to finish this. And I was shaking. And I ran over to John and I said, John, go back to the board. We have the person, present this person. Like, we have it. This is your woman. Do not waste any more conversation on me. I'm not your woman. This is the one. And the board agreed, and Anna, bless her heart, she says she had the time, but I think it's definitely worth saying that there's been a big sacrifice on Anna's part, with family and resources, to put this together. And what we're going to show everyone now is honestly Anna's hours and hours of work. And I'm not over exaggerating when I say, Anna, when we sat down and made you figure out, didn't you sometimes put 80, how many hours a week sometimes were you putting in?
Oh yeah. I mean, 12-hour days, 5 days a week. What's that? It's 5 times 12. I can't think.
60. You're good.
60. Yeah. And then the weekends too, nights even. I mean, it'd probably be even more than 12 hours. So ultimately, I'm just, it has been a sacrifice, but as I see the response, the homeschoolers, the teachers, they're my motivation, because they keep, thanking us for what we're doing. They keep asking for more. We're constantly getting, God really leads the way. Every time we may not know what the next step is, he sends someone with a request that helps guide us in the right direction. And so, we're just excited about, all of this. And it's been a sacrifice, but that's okay. God's worth sacrificing for.
Amen. Sacrifices of joy. It's definitely a psalm that we sing. But so right now we'll show you guys our high school curriculum. We call this one Grow to Know Him. Our whole branch of our curriculum is Acquainting Agriculture, but our high school curriculum is called Grow to Know Him. And Anna has done all the illustrations and the writing for this.
One quick question is, because I was like, Acquainting Agriculture, that's a neat title. Is that taken from like the first chapter in the book Education, Anna, by any chance?
Yeah, so
that's where I found it. I'm like, maybe this is where the title comes from.
Yes.
Okay.
So that was my inspiration, was the compilation on Ellen White's writings on agriculture. Mr. Dysinger, John Dysinger, has written one, and then there's 2 other authors that have compiled it. And so that was my first thing that I read. I'm like, okay, what does she say on agriculture, especially in the schools, because that was the scenario I was in at Campion Academy. And I kept everything kind of funneled down to this one thing, and that's everything that you do in the garden is to acquaint your heart with your maker. And I'm like, all right, Acquainting Agriculture, that kind of fits really well. And it does say it specifically, to acquaint you with God.
Sorry, not to get offside there, but I was like, wait a minute, I've heard this phrase here. That I think this might be where it came from. Okay.
Yeah.
No, Alan, it's really awesome that you asked, because a lot of people see acquaintance as a negative thing, right? Like a true friend isn't. We're not really that good of friends. We're just acquaintances. So we've gotten a lot of questions like, why is it Acquainting Agriculture? So read our beautiful counsel, and it will make so much sense. Because acquainting, Anna, explain a little bit more too. You had gone deep, if you remember what acquainting.
Yeah. So I wish I had the quote in front of me and I can look it up in a minute, but
I'm going to try to pull it up here real quick.
It's on our website.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's one of the headings on, I forgot what page it's on, but it's on there. But anyway, basically it says, or the essence of it is in the title, of our curriculum, I wanted everything to be secondary to knowing God. Oftentimes agriculture can be just thought of as a money-making industry, or, get your students, in some kind of industry to where they're, paying off their tuition. And it just gets pushed aside, I think, a lot of times for the beauty of what it could be. And that's to show students who God is. We were originally placed in a garden. And, I think that it's just a very wholesome environment, and God knew best. And that's why he placed us there. And that's why he walked amongst Adam and Eve in that garden, and showed them, principles of his kingdom through the things he had created. They knew God's heart even better just by him showing them through that garden experience. And so I feel like oftentimes we're pretty far removed from the original intent of the garden. And it was my wholehearted desire is to give God the limelight, make him the superstar of gardening, to allow every aspect of that gardening experience to draw the students' hearts to know God, to get acquainted with him. And so, and then be changed by it. When you know God, there's no way you can stay the same. So that's what I wanted the agriculture to be a tool for, to acquaint them with God, acquainting agriculture. So agriculture has a job to do.
Yes. Awesome.
Amen. So do you want to share your screen, Anna, and show us the high school curriculum?
I do. Let's see if I can get it. We were having some technical difficulties earlier.
While Anna's pulling that up, I just want to say, my mom and my dad both went to Adventist schools when they were young. And not that, I think, obviously people can send their kids to Adventist school, but when my mom was, when we were young, there was a family next to us in the town that we lived that they weren't Adventist, but they were homeschooling. And that kind of put the seed in her mind to say, maybe I can educate my kids. But it was always a struggle to say, okay, I'm not an educator, and I want to have something that kind of guides me because I've never done this before. And it was finding good curriculum is not easy. And especially if you're not a trained teacher, let's say, that's not always just a direct or a very easy path forward. And so, maybe some people feel like having more regimented, structured agriculture curriculum. You can go ahead and put it up, Anna. I was just going to fill some time while you're doing that. Is not essential, but I know, at least for my mom, I think she would have loved to use something like this. And it's great resources, like you said, for teachers, but for homeschoolers as well, or anyone that wants to do it. I was actually talking with Mr. Greenfield in our last interview that people hopefully will go see, and he was talking about how in Ghana there's a school there that he told about the curriculum that was being made, and they're so anxious to get their hands on it.
Wow.
And maybe do some adaptation there because they want to use it over there to educate their kids in Ghana. So this could go be such a blessing in so many ways.
Well, and Alan, that's where we have a secret, the three of us, because God is, there's doors all over. The truth is, you name a place and we almost have somebody that's interested. There's just such a hunger for this kind of curriculum. And this God's got his people waiting. This is Esther's message for such a time as this, really.
I believe so too. And we're humble servants being led by God. I don't want to focus on any qualities that any of us have. Anybody, if they're willing to be used by God, he can do mighty things through. So anyway, here's the acquainting agriculture, grow to know him, a field guide for the teacher and student. And there's been some adjustments a little bit, but basically it's a field guide for the teacher and students to get them outside of the classroom and into the outdoor setting. Angela can speak highly of the importance of outdoor education, especially with our young students. And so we're making this curriculum on waterproof pages, and so that there's no desk needed. You just go straight out into the field. You don't have to worry about the mess, the mud, the water. It just wipes right off. And so those are some of the titles that we've got. Lesson 1, garden site location. Lesson 2, minerals and soil analysis. I mean, you can read on, but it starts off from the first step of picking your location all the way down. It doesn't show all of the lessons. We're going to have 32 lessons in the total, but it shows you step by step.
It's 32 lessons a school year, just for the person that doesn't know. Like for me, 32 lessons would be for one school year, or how does that work?
Yeah, so a school year is actually 36 weeks, but in high school you have midterms and you have exam week. Plus around the holidays, you often have other programs going on. So we decided to pare it down to 32 weeks because in truth, you as an actual like teaching weeks, you have 34. But often that really isn't what you have as a teacher, and teachers know that. And so because often teachers want to teach the whole textbook, we feel like less is more, and we'd rather them really dig outside and do the 32 was our decided number.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it goes into it sequences it in the order that you would find yourself naturally doing when you're creating a garden, all the way down to marketing your garden. Let me pull up a lesson for you to see real quick. I can get that one up.
Now, would
closed it down.
this be a standalone class, or could someone use this as kind of like to kill two birds with one stone if they wanted to? You know what I'm saying?
No, this is designed to be a standalone class. So there sometimes we think that you can teach all subjects in one book, and you cannot unless you understand standards, which is a whole other conversation for another time, right, Melissa? We love standard-based teaching, but we'll get there. Don't worry, it's coming another episode, Alan. Standard-based teaching, you're gonna love it. I know you're on the edge of your chair. So basically, there are other components in these lesson plans. So you'll see here, like Anna is showing us, there's a spiritual lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to scroll down, Anna, so you can see I guess you could say some Bible class, right? And then they're taking notes. So you have some English class covered. And then there's the science class, because it's the actual content of what they're actually doing in the garden, what's actually happening out there. And then, yep. So as you
I'll get there. Still science, lots of science.
Yeah. Well, it's the basic know-how of success. Super important to learn how to control those weeds, obviously. So lots to learn in there. And then you'll see there's also a health component in the lessons, because we really believe that goes hand in hand with our gospel truth. For sure is the beauty available to us with preventative medicine. And then there's always the practical activity of what you're going to have them do out in the garden. And at the end of this curriculum, our goal isn't that they've covered all the subjects that you have to cover in a school year, but they come out and they are self-sufficient gardeners. They themselves are now able to go to a green space, a lawn, a church, and start their own garden, because they know how it starts from start to finish. Now, the great thing about gardening is there's lots of other things that can be taught in it, for sure. But that would be a massive textbook to do it well. And we have some ideas of doing that kind of thing down the road, maybe in a couple of years, Lord willing. But at this point, our goal is simply to make gardeners who love Jesus and love his mission, which is to reach others.
Yes.
But Anna, go ahead, show us a little bit more, show off the lesson. That was like, poof, really fast.
Oh yeah, real quick. So I felt that it was really important at the bottom of each lesson to have a note section, so students could journal what they observe, how they're seeing God as they're out there. We start off, every lesson with a connecting spiritual theme. And that is supposed to get the students' mindset working, like, okay, how do I see God in what I'm doing? And the notes section is to really record and journal down their experience with God in the garden. Yeah, so
And we plan on changing that note section to help have lead questions in the teacher's curriculum. There'll be leading questions to help them go deeper. Because if you just ask kids to write how you saw God, they'll be repeating each lesson the same things. And so this is a student example of a student guide, but a teacher's guide will have other ways to broaden the subjects available. But in no way do we want to pretend that this is all they need to be successful for 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, or 12th grade.
Right.
Well, the big benefit of this whole thing is that there's a teacher's guide and a student's guide. And so a teacher, if they're interested in having an agriculture class that they teach, they don't have to think through all the hoops they have to jump through, and they can take something to their board, I guess would be the case. And it'd just be a lot easier. Like it lowers the hurdle as far as the entry level for someone to think about doing this, I guess.
Yeah, because it's a step-by-step guide. You know, when I started teaching, I was handed my curriculum guides and I understood how to read them and the possibilities I could take them as my own. And that's what you're going to see. Teachers are incredible. They will take something and take it different ways. And that's the beauty of, I think, teaching, because every student is different. Every setting is different. Every garden is different. Climates are different. So that's okay. But there's basic principles, at least, that hopefully won't cost schools thousands of dollars because you have the passion, but not necessarily the skill set. So what we were trying to do is basically take, and Anna listened to almost every ADAGRA audio verse that you guys have had now, 7 ADAGRAs?
Yep.
Yeah, I took out the ones that were pertinent to what we're doing.
Yeah, so she's listened to hours and hours. So basically I would say this
I haven't even done that.
What's that?
I said, good for you. I haven't listened to all the recordings. That's like several days worth of recordings.
Yeah, well, that's what I did when I was washing dishes. I just put that phone up and listen. I don't have a dishwasher. I have a lot of dishes too.
So the curriculum is basically a compilation almost of ADAGRA's experience. And so we're basically trying to hand teachers and homeschooling moms, here's 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, right? Like your farmers that you have come speak at ADAGRA, I don't know how many years some of these people have been farming, but basically we're trying to hand you that amount of experience in a condensed form that's doable and not overwhelming, but still gets the basic crucial things. Now, are there components missing in this curriculum? Of course. I mean, you know, as farmers that there's lots of avenues it could go, but at least we feel like your basics are covered to be as successful as you can be starting green.
Because as you mentioned, Angela, you know, one of the frustrations as a teacher that's starting an agriculture program at their school is that you have so many inputs from, I mean, I've never had so much advice from different people that varied so much at one point as I did when I started up an agriculture program. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know what to sort through. I don't know what works. And so when I would go to these conferences, I'm like, this is what I've tried and utilized, and this is the success behind, you know, this is why we have success at our school. And I'm like, I want all the teachers not to be frustrated with trying all these different methods and them failing, but the tried and true, you know, methods that are presented at ADAGRA can be available through this book then to all the teachers, so that they're not, you know, getting, I mean, of course, there's some variation in how you do specific things, but I've found that what is presented at ADAGRA and what's in this book allows you to just streamline your program and sail through it with flying colors. I mean, we went, following these methods in this book, we went from 0 budget, no program at all, to starting a garden and then selling to market by the end of that year. And it's because this method and these presenters at ADAGRA, which is in this book, they know what they're talking about. And it does make it a world of difference for a teacher not to waste her time on all these different varying methods that don't necessarily work.
So do you kind of, or are you hoping to lay out a bit of a budget so that someone knows like, okay, this is roughly what it's going to cost me if I decide to do this curriculum?
Oh yes, that was part of the vision very day one when we started the Dicingers Farm. That had to be laid out. That had to be upfront with these are the tools. It's a one-stop shop. You go to our website and you understand which links to click to get the tools, to get the seeds. And we give you 3 sizes of gardens and approximate what you need for those sizes. And yeah, those kind of things are crucial. I mean, before any teacher can present or hope to have a gardening program, they're gonna have to convince their board, and boards needs numbers.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I
we were
think,
trying to make it so streamlined for the teachers that there's really not much effort they had to do on their own. To convince the school board, we have a PowerPoint that they can show, a video of the importance of why, the items, exactly what you would need, resources as far as books, if you want extra literature to help you.
And they can access that. They can access that once they buy the curriculum, or they can access, what's the hope as far as that? I mean, I know the curriculum's not for sale yet, but you know, paint it up for me like.
Currently, all those resources as far as the books, the PowerPoint to convince your board, the list of tools and seeds, good companies, those are free on our website right now.
Okay, so that's already up.
Mm-hmm.
And that is
That's acquaintingagriculture.org, which you can access through the ADAGRA website as well. It's all together.
awesome.
yeah. So we might, I'm sure, have more to add later, Anna, but let's introduce our third member of this little team.
Yeah.
Melissa came to us in a pretty awesome way too. This is where honestly the 3 of us feel that none of us really have a role. God's just been the one directing, writing, calling, giving the ideas, because it's just a miracle the way all 3 of us have come together. But Anna started to send out, well, you just posted on Facebook an ad asking for piloters last August to be willing to give our program a go through. And Anna, in one night, you had 100 people respond.
Yes, and in 24 hours, over 100 people responded that they wanted to help pilot the program and test it out. And so I thought that was just genius. I think that was your idea, Angela, or God's initiative, really God's idea, just to make sure that we had this program in the field being utilized, before we ever sold it. So we've had a huge response.
Yeah, well, all curriculums in the education world are piloted before they're sold. So that's just where we came up with the idea to make that happen. And I saw that on Anna's Facebook. I was in Australia at the time, actually. And I had kind of backed out with communicating with Anna, because it was kind of Anna's thing at that point, where she was just in the trenches. And I said, I told ADAGRA, if, when this thing comes, I'm willing to help you market it. But at this point, I feel like God is saying step out for a time. And so I saw Anna post on Facebook and I was like, what? It's ready? Are you serious? Like, wow, because she didn't tell me. And so I posted on my Facebook and shared it. And Melissa, we don't even know why we're Facebook friends. My brother, she knows my brother. And she happened to see it, which doesn't make sense either because we don't talk. So why she saw my feed, I don't know, but she just happened to see it and she contacted me. And I had a dream that we should make this high school curriculum written down to a middle school and elementary level. So an actually 3-part curriculum. But I was saying, oh yeah, Anna, I'll do it. Thinking in my head, I can't do this. What am I saying? And then Melissa contacted me, and in my head, God was like, this is your girl.
Yeah.
This is. And so when she started talking to me about how she had a similar dream to make a middle school elementary. Actually, maybe I'm going too fast. Melissa, you contacted me. What happened?
Well, first of all, way to make it sound like we're not friends.
We never talk.
I mean, we don't talk.
What? We couldn't even remember a time we had talked. Okay.
No, it's all good. That is kind of how it happened. I don't even remember how we became Facebook friends. But Yeah, I saw Angela posted about the curriculum, and I think I commented on her post something like, I'm just super excited to see that this is happening. And if there's any way I can help, just let me know. And I guess that a little bit of my background would be that I am an Adventist because of Adventist education. I didn't come from an Adventist family. It was because of my experiences I went from third grade all the way through until I graduated college. And so I really have a passion for Adventist education. I graduated from Southern with a bachelor's in elementary education, and then I taught for several years, both in K-4 and in 5-8. And the school that I taught at most recently was in Maine, and it had an agriculture program that was struggling. But that was one of the things that had drawn me to that school was the excitement of them having an agriculture program. And I was so excited to see all of that in work. But then I had kids, and we decided that I should stay home with our boys. So we moved to Michigan, and we started our own farm. And we had been farming for just a couple of years when I saw Angela's post and sent her that message. So I was brought on board to just help pilot the high school curriculum. But as I was reading it, I was like, this is so great, but this doesn't, it's so good, but it doesn't work for our middle schools or our elementary school students. It's too complex. So where's the middle school version? And then Angela told me I was going to write it.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's the quick version of how it happened.
So
Yeah.
just for us that don't know, like, what makes something a middle school versus high school as far as complexity? Because I was looking through that curriculum that we were seeing before, like on weeding and stuff, and it's like, well, maybe it didn't seem super technical, but maybe I don't know like what that dividing line is.
Well, maybe the best way to answer that question is for me to show you what I've been doing.
Transition.
Yeah. So let me just, I guess, screen share. Well, let me get the right thing pulled up first.
Okay.
So I'll start with the middle school so that, oh, hold on. I'm clicking all the wrong things right now.
Go get it.
Close. Zoom.
That's so funny. It's like, where's this one? You're writing it. It's like totally like what happened to you, Angela. You're like, I need a curriculum. And that guy's like, you're in charge of it. Woe's the one that opens their mouth. It's like.
Yeah. So mine does not look, is nowhere near complete. So it doesn't look like Anna's yet. I don't have my chapter titles and my cover pages on everything yet. But this would be a sample of a middle school page. This is probably, so the way we're breaking up, Angela, is this where you want me to explain the cycles in the A year and the B year? Because this is confusing. Yeah, so anyone who's taught at one of our Adventist schools, most of our schools are multi-grade. And so like Angela said, she taught K-2. Mm-hmm. In my years of teaching, I taught 1st through 4th and 5th through 8th. So we talked about how that means that at any given time, you're teaching all of those different grade levels. So a lot of the times, teachers will do a grade 5, 6 and a grade 7, 8, and they'll alternate between years and have an A year and a B year. And one year they teach the 5th grade, say reading, they'll teach the 5th grade reading curriculum. And then the next year they'll teach the 6th grade reading curriculum so that the students move through the years and they're not repeating the same things, but it's less for the teacher to have to teach. Did I explain that well?
Probably, I mean, I would think science is probably easier. So think about the things, there's lots of different things you learn in science, right? Life science, earth science, physical science, human body. And you learn certain things that you like, certain objectives have to be met for 5th grade. and then certain ones for 6th grade. And what an Adventist school does is a year A, the 5th and 6th graders learn the 5th grade together. And then the year B, your 6th graders moved on, but now your new 5th and 6th graders learn the B 6th grade curriculum. And so in their time in 5th and 6th grade, they got both sciences, but because it's not necessarily, doesn't have to build on it, it's just expanding more and different kinds of information. It's taught one year and then another year. And so for our garden curriculum, we realized that if somebody was going to be going through from K all the way to 12th grade, you cannot have, K through 4, this is our elementary school, and they hear it 5 years in a row, and then 5th through 8th, they hear it 4 years in a row, and then they get to the high school, they're done with it, And so what Melissa is doing is she's writing 2 curriculums for the elementary and 2 curriculums for the middle school. So that means if my little Billy is in 1st grade, he's going to hear the same curriculum 1st grade. And then he's going to hear it again in 3rd grade, but he's different. He's older now in 3rd grade. And so it's going to sound different to him. And he's going to hear the same thing in 2nd grade that he's going to hear in 4th grade, but it will sound different because his brain is very different at a 4th grade level compared to a 2nd grade. And the sun is going down, and I'm getting a nice sunbeam, I see.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, I was just going to say, go ahead, Melissa, but I was just going to say that the workbook, they get a new workbook every year, right?
Yeah, so I actually jumped to the 1 to 4 version because this one is more complete and will show you better. But so right here would be an example of a 1st and 2nd grade notebook. So, and this one has the table of contents and a cover page. Now, Anna is the illustrator and she hasn't done all of the illustrations yet. And this is still like drafts. So excuse the text boxes and the random things. They're still a work in progress. But you can see, like, for example, can you see my cursor?
Yeah.
So like it says, include a photo. These are little sketches that I've done, and Anna will probably go in and fix those things. But this would be like an example of a 1st and 2nd grade notebook. And so there's just a little bit, so we're working on the like repeat and enlarge concept. So we're starting in 1st and 2nd grade with very simple ideas, and then built right into their workbook is a place for them to draw a map. And then here we talk about garden journals, and we're teaching them about how to make good observations. And you can see here, it says write or draw about what you see. And I have asterisks here. These are where there'll be more pictures, because 1st and 2nd grade, you're going to have a lot of kids that can't read yet. So it's a lot of pictures. Anna's going to love illustrating for me. But then on their garden pages, there are prompts for them to know what to write, and then examples of what that might look like. And then, I don't ask the students to do something like make an observation without giving them ideas about how to do that. So again, this is all still really rough and being worked on. So formatting has some issues, but I don't ask them to do something without giving them ideas about how to do it and examples of what to do. And like right now, I'm just trying to teach the students like what things to look for in a garden, because eventually we're going to teach them how to identify nutrient deficiencies, or how to identify pests, or how to identify like various problems in their plants. But something that we see a lot today is that kids don't have any familiarity with nature, or especially with gardening. And so they don't just naturally know what to look like. So I'm starting with those basic skills of what are the things that they need to look at before they'll know how to do skills later on. So then in the 3rd and 4th grade notebook, between 1st and 2nd grade and 3rd and 4th grade, there's a huge jump in ability of what the kids can do. So you can see now in my 3rd and 4th grade notebook, I have a lot more text, but it's written simply for the students so that they can most 3rd and 4th graders would be able to read and comprehend this text. And then we're doing the same things this is a year. What I'm showing you right now is a year for first and second and a year for third and fourth. So it's the same information because it's the same year, but different levels. So
the teacher has one curriculum, the year A, but
yeah,
she puts her first and second graders together with these journals, and she puts her third and fourth graders together with these journals. So third and fourth graders have the same exact journals in first and second graders, and Billy will see that journal only for first grade, but he'll hear the same material when he's in third grade, but his brain will be in a very different place. And as you can see, the journal looks very different. But this helps the teacher because now she just has to organize 2 little pods to work on their journals. And that way she can be outside a whole lot more than trying to have 4 different levels.
Yeah.
But you can't have 4 different levels again and again. And so that's why there's the year A and there's the year B. So every other year she's teaching, basically covering your same bottom line things that have to be taught to understand gardening, but in different ways. So that way the kids don't get tired of gardening class because they heard this 8 years in a row.
So like table of contents is roughly the same, but the complexity of the content is more advanced on the B year.
I just stopped screen sharing so I can pull up. I've created a scope and sequence for each level. So let's look. Here would be 5 to 8. This might be a little bit confusing. Maybe I shouldn't even go here, but let's see. Here we go. Share. Okay, so if I'm looking at, this is my 5 to 8. Am I sharing? Can you see it?
Sure.
My 5 to 8 scope and sequence. So I have my A year, and this over here is my B year. My thing is a little off, but then I go through each chapter of what I'm going to talk about. So this is year 1 and year 2 over here. And then each of these is I keep pointing like you can see me. Each of these is a chapter title. So this column on the very far left is my chapter titles for a year. And then those are my objectives for that chapter. And this is all still like coming. It's like modeling clay. It kind of changes as I go.
Yeah.
And then this would be my B year. So I'm covering a lot of similar things. There's a few things that are a little bit different. But it's all still based on that concept of repeat and enlarge.
Right. Okay.
So then, sorry.
I guess just really quick, Alan, year A and year B are not complex and less complex. They're just different kinds of material. The thing that builds in complexity is your elementary versus your middle school versus your high school. The year A and year B is just a way of a student not getting tired of gardening class. And there's lots of things that can be taught in different ways for year A and year B, but we still have to make sure some fundamentals are covered. Just we need to switch it up so kids don't get bored. I don't know if that helps. I know this whole year A, year B thing, unless you're an educator, it is like we're speaking a foreign language.
I guess just so for instance, and I'll just stop after this because obviously it doesn't I guess matter for me to know this at this point. But just so let's say that I'm a first year, so like first, second, third, fourth grade. Let's just go through that. So let's say I start at A, then the next year would be I'd get the B curriculum, and then I would get an A curriculum. Is A curriculum here versus the first A curriculum that I received more advanced?
Your journal is.
My journal would be more advanced, but the content would be the same as far as the topic.
Yeah. The topic, but yet there's more writing in the third and fourth grade journal. There's more pictures in the first and second. So your brain is going to register it very different as a little second grader as compared to a fourth grader. You're going to look at the information in a very different way.
The second
is my picture up?
Yes, it's up.
Okay.
The time I say A it's going to be a little bit more advanced, even topically it's the same.
So here you go, Alan. What I just showed you, the notebooks, I showed you a first and second grade notebook and then a third and fourth grade notebook. Those are both a year. So if I'm a first grader starting in this curriculum, I'm getting first grade, my first year, and then I'm going to go to my second year and use my first and second grade notebook. Now, as a third grader, we're going back to a year. I'm using this notebook. And then as a fourth grader, I'm back to B year, I'm using this notebook.
Right. Okay.
So the teacher uses their teacher's edition every other year. And a kid potentially would go through first, second, third, fourth, and never do the exact same thing.
Right. Okay. I'm sure for all the teachers watching this, they're like, Alan, he's a little
Oh, but that's the difference between a high school teacher and an elementary school teacher. When they were explaining this to me, I'm like, that's why you're meant for this task, not me, because I was blown away by it. Hats off to elementary school teachers because it is complex.
Yeah, if you guys know an elementary school teacher that is teaching multi-grades, give them a hug because they are some special people.
They are.
So I'm guessing there's, I don't know, maybe I went into this as far as depth as it goes on the website, but obviously for more information, people can check you out at acquaintingagriculture.org. It says it there.
Well, actually, Melissa has it pulled up, so we'll just show off our website here that Melissa and Anna worked on. Go ahead, Melissa.
So the website is still, just like everything, a work in progress. But we have our homepage here where we talk a little bit about our mission statement, a little introductory video that's great. And then we have links here. So I guess something we haven't talked about is how each version, each grade level of the curriculum has a different name. So Grow to Know Him is the high school curriculum. And then God in the Garden is the 5 to 8 curriculum. And Planting with Jesus is the K to 4 curriculum. So that even the titles kind of grow with the age level.
Mm-hmm.
So if you come to the website, you can learn more about what is going on with each. I'm on the high school version right now. Look at sample lesson pages here on the high school version. You can learn a little bit about the curriculum writers, what the mission is. There's some contact information. Here on the resources tab, this is a super helpful tab for anyone, whether they're using the curriculum or not, because there's links to a lot of information here, things that are really helpful for where to find tools and where to buy seeds and a basic list of supplies. All of these are links that you can open. And we'll give you, here's your cost analysis, Alan.
Yeah. Okay.
Written out. And then back, actually, oh, come on. I have a, there. Okay. And there's recommended reading books. And these are all clickable links as well. Just click on well, this is a DVD, which is a super helpful information DVD about market gardening. But you can click on the picture and it will take you to a link where you could purchase that book.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a link here for support if you would like to donate to the writing of the curriculum. And shop is where, once we set that up this spring, soon, very soon, you'll be able to pre-order the high school curriculum because it will be available.
Yeah, by the end of May, it should all be printed and ready.
Okay, and then the elementary, the plan is to have available by the following summer. I'll be writing furiously for the next several months and have a couple of schools that would like to be piloting it next year, and we hope to have it available by the summer of 2022.
Awesome. And as far as the high school curriculum, what's the hope there, Anna?
So there are just a couple more lessons that I'm, like you said, not rushing through, but writing, and finishing up these next couple of weeks. And the illustration should be all set and ready, and have it printed by the end of May is our goal. And at least if it's not completely print ready and everything, we'll at least have the ability for the teachers to purchase it and set their orders up. That will also let us know how many we need to print to fill those orders. And then we hope to have a package available And in that teachers package, we're partnering with Born to Grow, so that they'll be able to have a planting calendar. He's got a fantastic app that you can, I mean, I spent hours and days actually planning out my garden calendar to make sure that I didn't waste any time, that I knew when I needed to, seed and start my transplants, when to put them in the ground. It just, Paul Dysinger has done a fantastic job with making it simple for teachers. All they have to do is click, what they want to grow and when they want to harvest it or whatever. I've even forgotten all the cool aspects of it. But so we're partnering with Born to Grow. There's also, he allows us to allow our teachers to have subscriptions so that they can have demonstration videos that go right in hand with what we're talking about in the curriculum. Mm-hmm. So if they're confused, they just click, they find the link on their teacher's edition and they can click it on the computer and it'll demonstrate exactly what we're talking about through a video. And then in that teacher's package, besides Born to Grow, we're also going to include a what inspired me as a teacher, the councils on agriculture. It's so encouraging, when you've got Ellen White's writings right alongside what you're doing. And then we're also wanting to include just a bunch of resources, maybe that even aren't listed yet on our website in that package, so that the teacher, that they're not having to resource everything and check it all out and find their own, trailblaze their own way, really. We want to make it so super user friendly that they just have to order what they want and then that's it. It all comes to them in the mail.
And you're hoping that will be available around
this summer. They can order it for the next school year. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, we'll open up orders probably mid to late May. Mm-hmm. Because we think it's super important that teachers could have in their hands late June by the latest, because they really need to start things July to be ready to full on take on your students in August. And so we would like to start taking orders in May.
Awesome.
For our high school curriculum. Yeah.
We'll have to do maybe an update video around end of May and see how that's all coming. Maybe just something short to just get an update from this video.
For sure.
Yeah.
So,
and I guess.
Oh, go ahead, please. No, go.
No. Oh, I was just gonna ask people to pray because there's still a lot to be done from here to there. And if we could just solicit people's prayers, that would be greatly appreciated.
Awesome. I just want to go over a few things here before we leave. The Acquainting Agriculture curriculum, along with the Jesus in the Garden and God in the Garden. Was that the subheadings for those others? I might have gotten those off. What are they?
Planting with Jesus, God in the Garden, and Grow to Know Him.
I got one, I think, maybe, kind of. Are all initiatives that are kind of under ADAGRA's nonprofit. And so at the last conference that the Adventist Agricultural Association had, which was in Glen Rose, Texas, we raised funds, and basically the overall budget, as if I'm doing this correctly, is $70,000 to get this curriculum off the ground. And then obviously the hope is that through the sales of the curriculum, that will be rolled back into the curriculum to make it better, expand it. Who knows, maybe even do some translation work on it so that we can get this in other languages, maybe create more curriculum. So really, the association as a nonprofit, there's really no desire to, hold those funds. It would just be to roll those funds back in to make sure that the curriculum is sustainable, that it's kept up, that you mentioned, Anna, all these support aspects on your website, that you really want to beef those up for teachers so that you don't have to source everything yourself. Who knows, maybe somewhere down the road, there's actually someone you can call and basically get ideas from if you're stuck in a location or something. There's so much potential. Obviously, if this really hits, and it really feels like there is a desire for this curriculum out there. We have already raised $22,580, and so we still have a deficit of $47,420 that needs to be raised. And you can either go to the your guys' website, which is acquaintingagriculture.org. Is that correct, or am I off on that one? Okay, acquaintingagriculture.org, which we just saw earlier, which Melissa was taking us through. Or you can go to adventistag.org, and up in, I believe it's the right-hand corner of the screen, there's a donate button. You click that, and there's other initiatives that ADAGRA is involved with, but Acquainting Agriculture Education Curriculum is one of those subtitles there below the donate, and you can click on there and basically donate towards that as well. There's, like everyone here has been saying, there's definitely a lot more that needs to be happened to make this what it can be. And I just really personally feel, and I think I speak on behalf of the board, and I know that Angela mentioned this, but for such a time as this curriculum, it's time, and there's so much, it seems like, potential for it. Angela, do you want to talk a little bit to some of your contacts that you've been making, like as far as the interest out there within the church, just so people kind of get an idea of, because I know that you've had some contacts in there, and then maybe we can pray to close and wrap this up a bit.
Yeah. This is where, once again, just God is incredible. When you surrender to Him, He really opens up the doors. Because when I was in Australia, one of our teachers was the writer of the Bible, the new Bible series, the Encounter series that's out for elementary and high school and middle schools. And I asked if I could talk to her after she taught one day. And so the next day we met for 2 hours, and I went over my curriculum dreams, because I have a couple. And she really got hooked with the garden curriculum. And she said, "You let me know when this is ready, because I work for the GC." So I haven't completely sent it to her yet, because I think that God's timing is going to be made clear. And I also think that you need to make sure your product is ready. So there's someone at the GC who's very open to it. Also, we've been in contact with the NAD, and the NAD is meeting about our curriculum in May. So if we could keep that as a matter of prayer, it's one of their agenda items for the elementary level in May. And we're still trying to make more contact with the secondary education, so it could be on their agenda items as well. And then, yeah, just we have piloters in Australia, and Anna, you have to help me. There's one.
A lot of places, aren't there? Like,
yeah, Canada, the UK, Romania, South Africa, Australia, potentially in the Caribbean as well. So I mean, that was just, it was so encouraging and kind of humbling to know that this curriculum, it's a necessary, wanted item, has been for a long time, and for such a time as this, I do believe that it's fulfilling a huge hole that has been there, that people are hungry to know how to teach their students how to garden. We may all learn as adults, but when you can foster that love for gardening in children, then it's with them for a lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, God is good, and He's definitely raising up a people ready for it, and raising up leadership as well. So I think we can be very thankful to be a part of such an incredible world church, and a family that is moving towards God's ideal. And I'm privileged to be on the journey, and I think God is going to take each one of us on a journey to grow to know Him.
Well, let us end with a word of prayer. Thank you so much for all of you guys. I know that the whole schedule thing was kind of up in the air, and some like time zone differences and stuff, but this has been great. Anna, could you close us with a word of prayer? And then after that, I'm just going to make a little bit of announcement to our YouTube audience, and then we'll close off this highlight period.
All right, sure I will. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we are so privileged to be part of your service on this earth, to reach the masses so that they can know you and that they can be able to be sustained from the fantastic creation, the gardening, fruits and vegetables, Lord, that you've created since the beginning of time are still available to us. And yet the majority of people are so far removed from farms and agriculture that they need these tools, Lord, so that they can supply their own needs, to sustain their families, especially as times are unstable right now. And so, and then ultimately, Lord, to through all of it, that they can know you better. You are such a wonderful God, and you've set up so many object lessons through gardening so that we can know your heart better, and that we could be changed. So we thank you, Lord, that we're your servants, that you've initiated this curriculum and that it's growing. And Lord, we ask that you open doors that we couldn't of ourselves so that more people can be reached and that students, Lord, can have the opportunity to grow and to know you. We thank you for what you've done already, and we're excited for what's next. Please keep us humble and within your will and your plan and your timing, to be patiently waiting on you, Lord, so that you can do mighty things. We pray also that you be with all of the piloters that are right now in the fields using this curriculum. You know that they have different hurdles that they're facing, and I pray that we as an organization, as ADAGRA, can be a support to those teachers out there, and that we can encourage more teachers to jump on board, Lord, and to be equipped to teach their students how to garden, knowing and growing for you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
And okay, so just some business for our YouTube listeners. There are a few ways you can help us out. Obviously, going and donating towards this curriculum is going to be huge, but if that's something that you can't do, here's some other options. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and share this video with other people or on your own social media, so that other people can know about this. Obviously, I'm sure there's going to be a big social media push in May when this whole thing's going to be pushed out. Obviously, the more people that can buy this curriculum, just the easier it is going to be to roll those finances back in to make something better so that we can all have access to an amazing resource. So also in the part below where you can make notes, let us know how you liked it. If there's any additional questions, please make them there, and we will try to get those to these ladies here so that we can have maybe some good dialogue going back and forth. And then we're hoping to make this whole ADAGRA highlight period a more regular thing on the ADAGRA YouTube channel. And so if there are things that you would like highlighted or individuals that we might be able to interview or things along that, obviously the last two have been specifically highlighting ADAGRA initiatives, but in the future, we would like to do interviews with just people that maybe our audience would like to hear from, other Adventists in agriculture that are doing unique things that we can bring on here and kind of hear their story and make sure that you can hear their story and we can all glean from their experience. So until next time, God bless.